Number 1.
One Friday night during my year's waiting tables, I picked up a shift for a coworker. I usually didn't work Fridays because they were amateur nights, lots and lots of white Zinfandel and people who only go out once or twice a year. I was about 30 minutes into my shift when I was triple sat with 2 4-tops and a 6-top. I got the drink orders from one of the 4s and the 6 and told the other 4 that I would be right back to get theirs. As I was coming back from the bar with a tray full of drinks, this lady sitting in another section grabbed me by my sleeve and pulled me back to her table, almost spilling all the drinks in the process. I don't know about the rest of you, but my pet peeve is you don't touch me, so I'm already starting to see red. I ask the lady, "Yes ma'am, what can I do for you?" And she says, in a very loud voice, "My chicken is bad." I calmly looked at her, looked down at her chicken, looked back at her, set the tray of drinks on a table next to them, reached onto her plate, picked up the chicken, spanked it twice, and yelled, "Bad chicken." Then I put the chicken back on her plate, walked through the wait station, threw my ticket book against the register and walked out the back door, never to wait tables again.
Number 2.
I was working at a beach bar in NYC in the summer of 2006. The job was hell. We would work 12 to 14-hour shifts because the place would open at noon and turn into a semi-rave at the end of the night. We wouldn't get paid for weeks at a time, and the pay itself was terrible. The 4th of July was the day that we were supposed to make mad cash because the beach bar was always packed. The fireworks display was on the East River, and the view from our place really was amazing. However, we get to work that morning and the owner had hired more people off of Craigslist, and told the regular wait staff that we would be working the overflow parking lot where there were less options to make tips, mostly just beer tents and not a lot of food. After a few hours of this, I decided to rally the troops, Norma Ray style. I got up on a picnic table, put my fist in the air, yelled, "This is our Independence Day." And we all walked out. The look on my boss's face was priceless, but what was even better was going back at the end of the night and sitting with them until we all got checks written out to us for all our overdue back pay.
Number 3.
About 10 years ago, I worked the breakfast shift at a resto bar named Cafeteria. It wished it was a supper club, and was situated on Lower Street Laurent Street, which is a strip in Montreal that was notorious for hiring hot young women who were eager to make a lot of money, ostensibly for school, as McGill was quite close by. It was relatively easy to leave there with $400 a night, or $200 for the breakfast shift, which meant people were willing to put up with more bullshit than if they were making less. I was spared much of the drama that happened at night, by virtue of having an awesome manager working during the day. But the night managers were all skeezy turds who power-tripped over anything, sexually harassed the waitresses, did coke off the back of the toilets, and were just general dicks. There were a lot of rumors of managers demanding blowjobs to get the better Thursday to Saturday shifts, though I can't confirm them. I can, however, confirm that the owner of the place was the worst of them all. He thought he owned the planet because he had a semi-successful restaurant, and made sure everyone knew it. One night when I was working Grand Prix weekend, during which I opened the restaurant at 7 a.m., and wouldn't leave until 4 a.m. the next day, coming back the next morning to do it all again, $2,000 in 3 days made it worthwhile to me. A newer girl I had been chatting with earlier in the night came up, shaken about something that had just happened. Apparently, she had been counting out her cash for the night in the back of the kitchen, and someone she thought was a random guy, as she had never seen him before, came up and swiped several bills from her. Shocked, she chased after him, yelling "Sir! Sir!" until he turned around and screamed, "I'm your fucking boss." Stunned, she went back to the kitchen to finish closing her cash. Afterwards, she went to talk to one of the managers, to tell him what happened, and also to make sure she wouldn't get in trouble. The place was notoriously fickle with its staff. As she was telling the manager her story, the owner came up to her from behind, put her in an headlock, chokehold with his left arm, and wrapped his right arm around her and stuck his thumb in her mouth. He leaned in and said, "That's right, I'm your fucking boss." She was understandably incredibly upset. I will forever think of her fondly, because she took the entirety of her cash, as in, the whole amount, from all her sales, that night and left, never to be heard from again. My hero.
Number 4.
I used to work in high-pressure sales. Once a week the director would come in, and to get everyone energized, she brought in monster drinks. She'd leave them in her office for the salespeople to have. Now I liked the director, she was nice and professional. My manager on the other hand was a piece of at $%. I got tired of drinking energy drinks, so I decided to not participate this one week. My boss came to me and said, "You didn't get a monster. You know Wendy, let's call her Wendy, bought these for the entire division?" I said I was aware of that, but I didn't want one. He came up to me and said this, "Listen, go into that office and get one right now." I was so stunned that I didn't know what to do. So I got up, grabbed a can, walked back to my desk and just left it sitting there. He came back and asked why I didn't drink it. I told him I didn't want to have one because my body doesn't do well with so much caffeine. He asked me to walk into his office. Now I wasn't the best at the job, in fact, I hated it. He stated to me that my lack of energy was extremely distracting to him, not to the team, him, and that it shows in my performance. He ended with, "If you keep this up we may have to let you go." All I said to him was, "Okay, well that's unfortunate, but I will not drink something that takes a toll on my body." Lo and behold, I ended up getting fired. I enjoyed 2 weeks of unemployment until I got a call back from the same company. They wanted to hire me for a different position, not sales. No interview and higher pay. I took it and I loved it. Since moved on to a better opportunity. Now my ex-boss. He ended up being terminated for drug use. He actually had the audacity to request me as a friend on Facebook. I didn't accept, but I heard from my prior sales coworkers that he was asking for money.
Number 5.
I was given a supervisor position at my last company at the ripe age of 26. I have a college degree and made waves in the department early on, but I can understand why some of the bitter-aged educated 50-year-olds were bitter about me getting it over them. So, I was a supervisor of a shitty warehouse, reporting only to my manager Alan. The 50-something lead John hated me because I got picked for soup over him, and now he had to answer directly to me. He actively went behind my back with his ass-kissing subordinate Ryan, and any attempt I made to do anything about it was met with scoffs and eye rolls. My manager Alan answered with, "Well, John is old school and won't budge for anybody." Eventually, I got sick of the drama and bullshit, and took a downgrade position to team lead, and Ryan was promoted to supervisor. Then the micromanaging started. Ryan and John both took every goddamned opportunity to pick my work apart, and any time there was cause for disciplinary action, Ryan came a-knocking with his dick hard enough to hunt with. Any bathroom break, any time I took a sip from my water bottle, any time I showed up 1 minute late to work, Ryan and John would show up and ask why I never got any work done. My work numbers were triple what theirs were. I got fed up and found another, much higher paying job. When I put in my 2 weeks notice, Ryan wrote me up for something that I apparently did 8 months before. I responded by telling him what my salary at the new company was going to be, and for the next 2 weeks, I did absolutely nothing. In an average month, I'd fill around 1,100 to 1,300 pos. My last 2 weeks? I did 3. Ryan and John asked why I wasn't working and playing video games on the work computer. I told them, "Fucking fire me then." Best 2 weeks of my career.
Number 6.
I worked at Walmart about 13 years ago at one of the few stores left that closed overnight. It was a regular old Walmart, not at all super. I worked overnight, stocking. I liked it, I only dealt with customers for a couple hours before the store closed and then just stocked the shelves. I mainly worked in the automotive department, and the nights would go by really fast. I worked with a bunch of people who were related to each other. There was the dad, Steve, his wife's sister, and his stepdaughter who worked there during the day in the jewelry department. Steve stocked the sporting goods department, right next to mine. This guy was really gross. He would constantly pop over to my section and ask me if I needed help lifting stuff up onto the overstocked shelves, and he would make comments about how pretty I was and how if he was 10 years younger he'd date me. Dude was pushing 50 and I was just a 19-year-old girl. I just laughed off his comments, say I didn't need help and that I was perfectly happy with my boyfriend, thank you. One night he decided to tell me how big his penis was. He related a story, a total lie, I'm sure, to me about how one day he was getting out of the shower and his stepdaughter, who was 17, saw him accidentally and exclaimed about how nice his penis was and how she wanted to try it out. I was dumbfounded and I did not know what to say. I just said, oh, well, I got to get back to work, and kinda shuffled away. A week later he was caught having sex with his wife's sister in the bathroom at work. They were both fired, his wife quit and his stepdaughter continued to work there.